This is Gary Atencio with CNTV, and today we're in historic Manitou Springs. We're at Ruxton's Trading Post. Since 1998, they have been providing products of art, antiques, collectibles, items from yesteryear and today. Beautiful shop you have here, a lot under one roof. Let me ask you, Mike, what got you guys involved in this type of industry?
Well, Gary, I had an uncle that collected Navajo rugs, and I kind of grew up around the Navajo rugs. Coincidentally, Gretchen's dad collected Old West items. After we were married, we kind of discovered that we both had interest in that and started collecting and attending shows, and then it eventually got so out of control it ran us out of our house and we had to open a store.
I grew up around all of these items. My dad was an avid collector of the Old West. When I was a little girl, people were bringing in Barbies and G.I. Joes. I brought in old Western coffee grinders and Dad's old spurs and things like that. I thought they were fantastic and interesting.
Is it just as fun pretty much learning the history of a lot of the items you have as pretty much putting them on the shelf?
You know, that's the interesting part about this business. The people you meet are historians. They're into collecting. They know the history of the items, and sometimes we're lucky enough to purchase them from them.
Do you guys actually travel around looking for items? And obviously with the World Wide Web now, you guys can check around pretty easily right from your fingertips.
You know, we can. We've had several trips around the country buying from these Western collectors, flea markets, estate sales, just people who call us up and we travel to look at their collections. And they're wonderful people.
They themselves, basically, they come with a rich history of every item they put in front of you.
You know, they do. And if we're lucky enough to purchase that item, we have a background. And we can pass that along to our customer. And it just makes that piece of memorabilia that much more memorable.
We are sitting in historic Manitou Springs, sitting in an historical building. We've got the Ruxton Creek flowing nearby. Why don't you share with us how the creek and the shop here got its name?
Well, Ruxton Avenue and Ruxton Creek are named after Frederick Ruxton, who visited the area in the 1840s and wrote a book titled Life in the Far West, which is one of the best descriptions of the mountain man era in the western United States.
One of the things here, a trading post, basically by definition is a place or establishment where folks come to exchange goods. Is that basically what's still going on here today?
Well, it really is true. Of course, now a lot of the exchange is taken in credit cards. In the old days, you know, you brought so many beaver pelts and traded them for a certain item, and they'd have an item marked 3 or 4 or 5, and that indicated how many beaver pelts you had to trade.
One of the other things that trading posts were well known for was a place where people got together and shared news of the day. I mean, they basically talked to one another because newspapers didn't even exist before the trading post. We're going to share a little bit of news with the viewers out there of what they're able to find here under the roof. Let's start off first of all with the cowboys and cowgirls. What do you guys have available for cowboys?
Oh, we've got cowboy hats, we've got belts, we've got spurs all the way from $20 or $30 up to $3,500 if you're a spur collector. You know, we've got some really high quality contemporary custom handmade spurs. We've got some old antique. We've got antique saddles, and they're really maybe better suited to go in your living room than to ride. Then we have some newer saddles that would fit a horse and would be safer to ride than the old antique ones. We've got shirts, and you know, it just goes on and on with things that are cowboy could use. But we have a lot of things that are not necessarily cowboy items too. We have a lot of old gasoline station signs and oil company signs. We also have bear rugs and stuffed buffalo heads and buffalo skulls and elk antlers, things that are popular with people that aren't just focused on the cowboy genre.
Frontier classics, old Western, you've got old chuck wagon stuff here. I mean, it really is a unique mix of things. Obviously, back in the day, the cowboys were on the land here as well as the Indians. I see you've got some Indian wear as well. Share with me.
Oh, we do. We've got all sorts of Indian art. It's primarily since 1900. But we have old Navajo rugs that were made in the 20s and 30s, and the rugs were usually woven by Navajo women, and they're mostly hand-spun yarns, which differs from most of the rugs made today. Most rugs today are commercially made, but a hand-spun Navajo rug takes 3 times longer to make, because 2/3 of the work is creating the wool yarn, spinning the yarn and dyeing the yarn, and then washing it out. It's just not only is it a great form of art, but it's a long process with a lot of work involved.
Some of the art you have as well. I see some Indian art hanging here. Is that something that came along later on, or you just keep adding to the mix?
Well, we just keep adding to the mix, and we haven't maybe focused as hard or as heavily on Indian art as we have on cowboy, because there are more stores in the area that handle Indian art and fewer that handle cowboy. But we started with Indian art, and so we always try to have some here.
Even as I look around, I see some decor that's available for the home as well, small pieces, and even a couple pieces of furniture as well.
Yeah, a big part of our business is home decor, and probably the biggest part of that are cowhide rugs. We sell about 130 cowhide rugs a year, and more every year. Now we have a person in Brazil that selects them for us at the tannery. Brazil is where the very best cowhide rugs come from.
Wonderful.
So if you happen to have eaten at one of those Brazilian restaurants, well, this is the other part of the product.
As I look around here, you've got a wide array that people can walk through, take a look at, pick up a few items. What about online? Are they able to order online, or is that mostly for reference?
It's both reference. It's probably even more reference than it is sales, because when we find a very rare saddle or rare pair of spurs, once it's sold, we leave it on the website. And a lot of people use it for reference. It's a very active website, but we sell a lot off of it too. We just don't remove the things off once they've sold if they're a unique item.
Right here in the area, do you have any items from Pikes Peak Railroad, anything from the Western Show, anything like that?
We do have some kind of Pikes Peak Railroad souvenirs. We've got things like old woolly chaps, which are really covered with Angora. We also have a product that's been made in Manitou since 1946, and that's called Bamco. It's a line of small leather goods. Manitou in the 50s and 60s was a stronghold of saddle makers, and one of them had moved from Hollywood. He was one of the saddle makers in Hollywood that built saddles and chaps and other small leather items for the TV and movie stars. Yeah. And he came to Manitou Springs. His name was F.O. Baird, a rather famous maker. I mean, they have his work in museums now. And during the same period, a saddle maker from St. Louis, Missouri, moved here, Walter Newell. And Walt Newell made saddles and equipment for Roy Rogers, Gabby Hayes, and Bob Nolan of the Sons of the Pioneers. Wow. And they both converged on Manitou, which is a real small town, to have these kind of famous saddle makers. The F.O. Baird catalog from right before he moved here has 9 or 10 pictures of Roy Rogers in it endorsing his saddles.
That is amazing. Like you say, basically a lot of history right here in Manitou that a lot of folks probably don't even know about, but yet you're still able to carry on that quality and that product that obviously attracted those guys.
Yeah, it's just surprising to me that these fellas that were outfitting Roy Rogers and outfitting Gene Autry picked Manitou to move to.
Interesting. Well, folks, if you take a look at the bottom of the screen right there, you're going to see their website. And just like the famous out there that picked Manitou Springs, we think you're really going to love the shop here. It's a trading post that quite honestly has been around for many years. And what started with a passion between two folks here, it just grew and grew. And like he says, he continues adding to the mix all the time. Walk on in, you see an item they got on the shelf, chances are he's going to have some good idea of where it came from and a little bit of history behind it as well. It's probably got to be the first interview that I actually donned a hat on. I appreciate putting one on my head. It's got a good fit. Share with us how you're able to set these up for folks.
Well, you do look really good in a hat. I'm surprised you don't own one.
Never have.
But, we can cut brims for people so that we can customize the hat for them. Cut the brim any size they want. We can shape the hat any way they want. We have hats that are not yet shaped. They come open crown with a flat brim. We can make them, however a person prefers. But most people don't realize that we can cut a hat brim, and it makes a dramatic difference in the way the hat looks.
Well, we appreciate it. Thank you so much, Mike, for sharing some time with us here today. Folks, last time, take a look at the bottom of the screen. You're going to see their website again. On the website, check it out there because, first of all, you can actually search kind of through the store here right online, which is great. You can also see some of the categories they have there. Click on a link to get an idea of some of the products they have here. The reason I say some is because, quite honestly, they keep adding more and more. And if you're not sure, contact them. Email them, ask them what they may have, and I'm sure if they don't have it, they can lead you in the right direction. This is Gary Atencio with CNTV, and if you don't know, now you know.